It is a universally recognizable feeling. You are sitting in a conference room, staring at the glass walls, your chest tight as you prepare to tell a colleague that their work isn't cutting it. The dread of delivering bad news is so heavy that 33% of leaders completely avoid these difficult conversations. They tell themselves they lack the time, or they worry about coming across as harsh or antagonistic. But look at this bar chart to see the actual cost of that silence. When managers avoid these talks, stagnation is almost guaranteed. But when they step up and use a structured feedback intervention, performance improves in a towering 70% of cases. The data shows that when a manager explicitly frames their critique as an attempt to help rather than a mandate to punish, the recipient responds more readily. The emotional distress drops for the person hearing the news and for the person delivering it. Nurturing feedback provides the essential foundation for a thriving career. For freshers, it functions as the primary survival skill for navigating a first role, while for senior leaders, it serves as the cultural engine that determines how the rest of the organization operates. The reason feedback usually fails comes down to the villain trap. This happens when a manager blurs the line between addressing a specific, isolated behavior and attacking a person's inherent character. This split brain diagram shows how the threat response dictates outcomes. A character attack lights up the amygdala in red, triggering a defense mechanism that shuts down learning. Focusing on behavior keeps the prefrontal cortex engaged in blue, leaving the door open for logical processing. Telling an employee, "You are always so careless," puts them immediately on the defensive. Saying, "The report you submitted yesterday contained 3 data errors," keeps the focus on an external object that can be fixed. The setting matters just as much as the words. You should always praise your team publicly to build morale and model excellence, but correction must always happen in private to protect the individual's dignity. Using behavior-focused language prevents the brain from entering a defensive shutdown. This approach communicates that the individual is valued, even while their specific actions are being addressed, making it much more likely they will absorb and act on the critique. To guarantee your words hit the mark, you need a strict, objective framework. That is where the situation, behavior, impact, or SBI model comes in. It acts as a mechanical antidote to emotional delivery. We track this process in the circular diagram. Step 1 illuminates the situation, pinpointing the exact time and context. Step 2 moves to behavior, describing only observable actions. Finally, the loop completes with impact, articulating the measurable consequence the specific behavior had. You can take this a step further with the SBII extension. By adding a final question about the recipient's intent, asking them what they were trying to achieve, you immediately transform a one-way monologue into a two-way diagnostic conversation. Relying on the strict SBI model forces you to strip all frustration and assumption completely out of your delivery. The feedback remains an objective tool for alignment, rather than a personal grievance. This 8-step staircase infographic maps out exactly how to execute this in your next meeting. The bottom 2 steps make up Phase 1, preparation. Before you even walk into the room, you secure a private, neutral setting, and you actively check your own emotional intent. In Phase 2, the delivery, you lay out your precise SBI statement. Then you ask a clarifying question, stop talking, and actually listen to their perspective. Phase 3 is alignment. Both parties actively co-create a future solution. You close the meeting on a positive note and schedule a clear follow-up to check in on their progress later. This blueprint scales to any level of the corporate ladder. A new hire can use it to calmly address a peer who keeps talking over them in stand-ups, and a senior manager can use the exact same steps to correct a direct report submitting error-filled data. When you separate the action from the individual and anchor your conversation in observable facts, you remove the sting of criticism. Mastering this structure turns attitude instead of resentment.